Alright, final match here, and an easy mulligan on the draw, of course. And our opponent keeps, and we have to keep. Well, we're happy keeping. We have smallpox. And that's a bit of an issue already. Probably best to just get rid of it now, since pretty much all of our plays involve dismembering this at some point, so it might as well be immediately while we aren't going to get bamboozled by anything, although there's not really much that's going to bamboozle us. And we get Lava Spiked and Swissbeard, so not bad for us. I mean, we're at low, but we get to Smallpox, get our opponent's land, get a card, get a creature, which is exactly what we want to do. And Goblin Guide gets in and reveals Shrieking Affliction. Now here we're getting punished by Blink Moth Nexus, unfortunately. It's doing a much worse Mutavault impression and a much worse Swamp impression, so this is the exact scenario where we don't want Blink Moth Nexus, and it's pretty much punishing us the maximum amount, not allowing us to Funeral Charm the last card in our opponent's hand. And the Goblin Guide is not helping us out here. And our opponent's able to bolt us down to 3, and unfortunately with those whiffs we are looking to be in big trouble. It would have actually been great if this were a swamp. We could have smallpoxed away our opponent's land and creature, although we still may not have won, but I mean, it would have looked better than this, that's for sure, because now we are almost certainly dead and have to chump with Blink Moth, and we can't even pump up the Blink Moth to trade. Nope. And have to kill ourselves with Smallpox, of course. The only honorable thing to do is make our opponent to discard and go down to 0 permanence while we are at 0. Yeah, so if you want an argument for not playing Blink Moth Nexus, there it is. So sideboarding, well, this is what Death Shadow was made for, is this exact matchup. Well, maybe it wasn't made for this matchup, but it's good in this matchup. And Disfigures are going to be great as well. Pretty much everything else is no thank you. So we want those 6 for sure. We can look to cut Dismembers. Dismember actually isn't that bad in this matchup, because, well, first of all, it's either you're casting it on turn 1 on a creature like a Goblin Guide, and it's probably saving you life even though it's dealing you 4, but you can also cast it for just 3 mana and have it be Murder, which is pretty good as well. So we want some amount of Dismembers, but probably not the full 4. Funeral Charm isn't very good. It doesn't kill much, just like Grim Lavamancer pretty much, which not even all versions of the deck run. And then Thoughtseize, well, we just got rid of Thoughtseize down to 59, but Thought, lots of thoughtful cards. Alright, Thoughtseize, we don't really want it as well, obviously, because it does damage. And got rid of a dismember. Love the Magic Online interface. Anyways, so probably cutting 2 dismembers, all the Thoughtseizes, and a Raven's Crime seems fine. Funeral Charm is okay because it's instant speed, but not great. Maybe even a Funeral Charm over a Raven's Crime actually makes sense. And then keep in 2 dismembers. Yeah, that seems pretty good. And we choose to draw, which, I mean, you could make the argument you want to play in this matchup because Smallpox is going to be good on turn 2 a lot of the time if our opponent plays a 1-drop, but I guess I chose to draw, which seems good, especially if your opponent mulligans, but choosing to draw makes Smallpox a lot better as well, and this is one of the matchups where Smallpox is pretty good on turn 2 even if you're on the play. But we keep this. It's not great, not a great hand, so we're happy to see our opponent just lightning bolt us immediately. That's exactly what we want to see compared to, say, a Goblin Guide. And no turn 2 play is great as well. I mean, we don't want to see creatures, that's for sure. And our opponent discards a Destructive Revelry, and so we're gonna be able to Raven's Crime and then just Funeral Charm and land Liliana next turn, or possibly even keep up Dismember, although probably just Funeral Charm is worth it because we're able to hardcast Dismember at this point, so there's not really any point in, like, if we Dismember a Goblin Guide on 1 mana, we're actually coming out behind in that exchange. So Liliana plus, and our opponent discarded 2 Destructive Revelries because we just didn't play a Shrieking Affliction or the Rack, which is making a good case for Destructive Revelry not being very good in this matchup, because I just don't have to play the Rack or Shrieking Affliction until I've made my opponent discard it. So they would basically have to be top decking it for it to be really good. So out comes Shrieking Affliction, and here I decided to plus Liliana. It probably would have been better to plus Liliana, discard a land, and keep the Dismember, I think. Or not plus Liliana at all and just leave up Dismember. This is okay too now, because I remember being afraid of specifically Boros Charm just killing our Liliana, and now we're out of Boros Charm range. I think I played the land too fast and should have just discarded it and kept the Dismember though. I think that was the correct play. Happy I plus Liliana though, because our opponent does in fact draw Boros Charm. We are of course not out of the woods yet, and I do want to continue plussing Liliana because the ult is relevant at turning off either Atarka's Command or Boros Charm. And Mutavolt's a great draw. And our opponent didn't play Eidolon. I'm not entirely sure why they didn't, because we just got to eat it for free. I mean, maybe they thought we were immediately going to -6, but there's no reason to do that, really. And of course now there is definitely a reason to -6, since we even get to keep the Liliana around. So pretty easy split here, white versus green, and our opponent keeps the white. And now we're looking to win this race except against something like Lightning Helix. Although, actually, we even still beat Lightning Helix because we just plus this first. So yeah, that worked out well. Our opponent had a bit of a slow start, and the destructive revelries didn't really help them. So, final game. And here's an excellent card for us. Well, excellent card and excellent hand. I mean, Disfigure's perfect. You're perfect the way you are, Disfigure. You're beautiful, no matter what they say. Alright, so Wild in the Cattle, excellent. Disfigure target when it's a 2/2. Happy to do that. Don't mind if I do. And then our opponent actually has 2 creatures, which is annoying for our Smallpox. We're still going to Smallpox though. Pretty good anyways. Just getting rid of a card and a land. I mean, our opponent's already really low on resources and hasn't dealt that much damage to us so far. And we have good follow-ups here. Of course, them dumping their hand here completely is a bit of an issue for us. And they suspend Rift Bolt. And we go ahead and Disfigure, and now we're the burn deck. The question is, can our opponent keep up with our burn? And it looks like no, they immediately draw land. And of course they play it here, despite us having the rack, because they want to enable Boros Charm. And don't want to just get it discarded. And there's Grim Lavamancer. And we go ahead and Smallpox. It actually probably would be better to just go ahead and dismember this. Because I mean, Smallpox isn't really doing much against our opponent right now. But doesn't matter. Our opponent needs to pretty much top deck Destructive Revelry, and they do not. And we get to sort of remind them of the first game, except this time they're the one at 0 from our Smallpox, and we managed to take it against Burn, which is usually not a great matchup, but we managed to get there.